Are you interested in playing Wynncraft? Are you perhaps a player new to the game looking for an explanation how things work? Hello and welcome to this beginner's guide to Win. This world contains much for you to see, experience and explore. There's much to unpack, timestamps to each section are down below. Let's go! Before you start playing, there are two things you need to do. First off, there are the IPs you can use to log onto the server. When you add the server, make sure to enable resource packs. And for the IPs, there are two different ones you can use. The play.wynncraft.com automatically joins you directly into the game, whilst the lobby.wynncraft.com joins you into the lobby where you can manually select a world. This one is good if you're playing with friends and you want to play together on the same world. Now the IPs are ready to go, but there's one more thing you should do, and that's reading up on the game rules, linked down below. This way you can make sure not to break them and also know if someone else does so you can report them on the forums. To report a player, make sure to have evidence of some kind, a screenshot or so, and use the forums report page, also linked down below, or the in-game command /report. Now you're ready to log on, let's go! When you log on, you'll get to the class selection menu. There are 5 main classes and you can create multiple characters and try each class out. Those classes are Archer, Warrior, Mage, Assassin, and Shaman. There are also reskinned versions of each class for ranked players. When it comes to your first playthrough, there are 3 classes I would recommend. I would recommend Archer because it's quite strong and it has a good escape spell if you get into a tricky situation. The Mage class is also good because it has strong spells and you can also heal yourself. And lastly, there's Assassin, because you have a good escape spell that makes you invisible to mobs and your first spell also stuns them. The other 2 classes are good as well, but these are the ones I would recommend for your first playthrough. Each class comes with 4 spells and 1 melee attack. You unlock your first spell right off the bat, and the next ones you unlock at level 11, 21, and lastly level 31. Then as you progress, your spells upgrade with your levels. You can read up on those spells more precisely on the Wynncraft help page linked down below. Each spell is triggered through different clicking combinations using right and left click. When you have selected your first class, you get sent into the tutorial, a small introductory quest before you enter the game world itself. Here you see how quests and other things such as professions work. But before you get started, have a look at the hotbar. Here are 3 things: the compass, the quest book, and your soul points. The compass opens your stats menu, where you can find your combined armor and weapon identifications, your health and defense stats. However, the calculated spell and melee attack damage is wrong, but stick through until the end where we discuss win data, where you can calculate the damage of each spell and melee attack. It also contains your profession levels and mainly the skill points. We'll go over skills and professions a bit later on in the guide. Secondly, there's the quest book. The use of this is to track quests and mini quests that you are able to do. Just hover over a quest to get the starting information, such as what the NPC is called and also what coordinates the quest is located. And lastly, there are the soul points. These decide basically what items you risk losing upon your death. Open your inventory and hover over them to see the exact percentage risk of losing certain types of items. When you die, you lose 2 soul points, and every sunrise you gain a new one. Other activities, such as using a teleportation scroll or resetting your skill points, also deplete soul points, so be careful about the risks you take in game so you don't risk losing your precious items. Now, I know you're eager to start, but before you start the tutorial, look down at the different indicators over your hotbar. There's the combat level meter. This one shows your level progression. There are 105 main levels and 1 extra challenge one at the end. Next up, there's the health, mana, and sprint bars. The HP bar displays your health. The mana one, how much mana you have. Spells deplete mana. And lastly, your sprint bar, which indicates how much you can sprint until you need a small break. And when you're not sprinting, the sprint bar will turn into a coordinate meter. And if you open your inventory, you'll be able to find the ingredient pouch. Now this is a pouch that will store the mob drops. You can disable and enable the automatic pickup, but you can use it as a separate inventory for storing all the drops from mobs. Now you're ready for the tutorial. I'll see you on the other side. Once you've completed the tutorial, you'll end up here, the starter city of Ragni. There's a lot to unpack and much to learn. No better time to start than now. Let's go. So before we get into the gameplay, let's start off by looking around at the many different merchants around the city. First off, we have the bank, a place to store your items, and as you progress you can buy additional space. There's the armor and weapon merchants, who sell decent gear that you can use until mob drops provide a better replacement. There's then the scroll merchant, who sells teleportation scrolls. To use one, you must have visited the area before, and they do cut down travel time a lot, but do remember they deplete 1 soul point per use. Next, there's the blacksmith, where you can sell gear for emeralds or repair scrap. The scrap can be used at the blacksmith to repair your crafted items. We'll get more into crafted items later on. Another important merchant is the potion merchant, where you can purchase healing potions, mana potions, and even elemental potions. And lastly, there's probably the most important one, the item identifier, who identifies your unidentified items. Identified items have different kinds of effects, both positive and possibly negative. Merchants, they appear in basically all cities and many villages as well. Before your adventure begins, there are a few items that you should always carry with you, except for armor and weapons of course, those are given. You should make sure to always bring potions to quickly restore your health. A teleportation scroll in case you need to travel back or if you happen to get stuck. And lastly, bring a few emeralds, because you never know if you need to make a quick stop at a merchant or if you need to trigger a pressure plate for a quest. Now let's get into the gameplay. The game is basically about exploring the world and to level up. There are many ways to level up your combat level. There's also the profession levels, but we'll go over those in a bit. But mainly there's the combat one, the most important one, and it decides your gear, weapons, and quests. To level up you can do many different things, and for your first playthrough it's good to experience all of them. First off, we have quests, missions you take on around the world. You can find them in your quest book and you unlock new ones as you progress. They require a certain level and rewards are XP, emeralds, and sometimes a few items as well. Quests can give up to 58% needed to go from level 1 to 105, so they are really useful. But in between doing quests, you need to gain XP in other ways. There's killing mobs, which is not only a good source of XP, but the best source of good gear. Mobs, they come in different varieties and levels, and there are many good spots to grind mobs to level up in between quests. In the description down below you can find a guide to good spots to use for every level. Another way to earn more XP from killing mobs is by doing mini quests. Mini quests are small kill quests, where you kill mobs and return with the mob drops. The reward is a bit of XP, so you gain XP from killing the mobs and then some more from giving the mini quest some of the drops. These work similarly to quests and you can find them in your quest book as well. Then there's what we call dungeons, challenges with the boss at the end. They can be difficult, so bring potions and maybe even a friend or two. You unlock dungeons from doing quests and they require a key to enter. You get one key after the dungeon quest, and you can get more by killing key guardians, which spawn in areas with similar levels to the dungeon. The reward for completing one is a good amount of XP and tokens you can use in the dungeon shop to buy useful items. And lastly, there are also secret discoveries, small lore stories you can trigger around the world, which also give a good amount of XP. And for these, there are a few for different levels, and guides for all of them can be found in the description down below. A large part of the general gameplay during discoveries, dungeons, and quests in Wynncraft is parkour, jumping and climbing in between blocks. And parkour can be tricky and difficult, but don't worry, it starts simple, so you will learn with time and don't give up. You can do it. Because no matter how many times you fail, you will eventually get it, speaking from experience. And you can head to a certain part of Ragni to find a small course for practicing parkour. Alongside the normal gameplay, you can every day complete a small daily challenge to get a good amount of loot as a reward. You get new objectives every day and they span all from killing mobs or looting chests, and these can be really good to do. So we briefly mentioned professions before. What are they? Well, professions is another aspect of Wynncraft. This is something more optional. Basically, you can gather materials around the world and craft useful items using those materials combined with mob drops. There are in total 12 professions, 4 concerning gathering and 8 different ones for crafting. This can be very grindy and repetitive, so I recommend that you either wait with them until you have leveled up quite a bit and progress through the game, or even until your next playthrough. But if you are interested to start right away, there are guides for leveling them down in the description below. Earlier we came across skill points. What are they, and what are elements? Well, skill points are points that affect your character in different ways, and sometimes armor and weapons require a certain amount of skill points for you to be able to use them. And whenever you level up, you gain 2 additional skill points. Skill points and elements, they're connected to each other and basically have to do with your playstyle. When it comes to elements, certain armor and weapons can have different elemental defenses or damages. And mobs can have different elemental strengths or weaknesses, so certain elements deal more or less damage to them, and their attacks can deal certain elemental damages. So, how do they work? Well, elements can be found on armor and weapons and in the form of powders, but here's a quick rundown on what they do. There are 5 skill points and 5 elements, and as mentioned before, they are connected with each other. There's a strength skill and earth element. Strength increases all damage dealt, and earth focuses on higher damage as well. There's dexterity and thunder. Dexterity increases the chance of doing double the base damage, which isn't double the total damage, and thunder focuses on faster attacks. Then there's intelligence and the water element. Intelligence lowers the amount of mana spells uses, and water focuses on mana regen and spell damage. Intelligence is special because spell costs only decrease in whole numbers. You can check out how much intelligence you need over at WinData, and we'll go over what that is later on in the guide. Next up, there's the defense skill and fire. Defense decreases the amount of damage received, whilst fire has to do with a more tanky HP but weaker overall damage. And lastly, there's the agility skill and the air element. Agility increases the chance of dodging the full damage from an attack, and air generally gives you faster movement. But you don't have to focus on one skill or one element, but you can combine different ones to create strong combos. The Wynncraft world is large, and traveling can take its time. But don't worry, there are ways to cut down the travel time. At level 11 you can unlock movement spells. This is the same for every single class. At level 34, there's the quest Stable Story, which rewards you with a horse you can use to ride around. And then you can also buy a horse from other players, but that can sometimes cost. You also have teleportation scrolls, which you can use to travel to cities you have visited before. But remember, they deplete one soul point. Earlier we discussed merchants, but in major cities you can find the trade market, which can be much more useful in certain cases. Here you can buy and sell items to other players. On the first page you can find the latest items up for sale, and you can filter it after level. There's also a search function with multiple filters and also a sell function where you can decide the price you want to sell your items for. We've now gone over the main gameplay. You level up your class through different activities, you can upgrade your gear by getting new items from mobs, dungeons, or even crafting it yourself. The map is large and there's a lot of content for you to explore, and whilst you play, there are a few commands that can come in handy. There's a full list linked down below, but here are the most useful ones. If you get stuck somewhere, you can use the /kill command. This will kill you and depletes 2 soul points and send you back to the nearest city you visited before. The /msg command can be used to message another player, and /r if you want to reply. /trade sends a trade request to another player so you can trade them. /duel sends a request to duel another player so you guys can battle. /class can be used if you want to change characters in the class selection menu or just to have a safe place to AFK. The /friend add or remove command can be used to add or remove players to your friend list. The /ignore add or remove command can be used to add or remove players from your ignore list. This will hide their messages in your chat if they spam or annoy you. /report can be used to report someone if you witness them breaking the rules. Then, to get back to the lobby, you can use /hub, but if that one isn't working, you can use /server or /lobby. You can use the /party create, join, or invite to create and join a party to get an XP boost from cooperating with your friends. And lastly, there's the fix quest command. If a quest line, the text that is bugged, or if you've lost a quest item that you need to complete the quest, you can use this command to hopefully fix it. But if it doesn't fix it, you can use the forums or the Discord to ask a moderator for help. You're now ready to play, but what if you're interested in joining other sides of the community? Or if you need help with a quest, or want friends to play with, or have a few questions you want answered? Well, that's where the web functions come in. Wynncraft has both a forum and a Discord you can join. 3 main sections are Wynncraft or General, the Questions, and then the Planning Parlor. On the forums in the Wynncraft section, you can find everyday discussions, guides marked with a blue guide tag, and also community events or giveaways marked with a green community event tag. Then on both the Discord and forums, there are the Questions and Planning Parlor sections. On Questions, you can get any game-related question answered. And then on Planning Parlor, you can ask for help with quests, dungeons, or co-op of different kinds. There's also an online map you can use to locate yourself around the map, and it even shows a small miniature avatar of yourself and your friends and your party members when you're logged into the game. Apart from the official stuff, there's 2 more things on the web you can use for assistance or other things. First off, there's Windata, a fan-created website with a full item registry, the crafting tables. You can calculate your crafted items before you actually make them so you can see the stats, and then there's a build calculator which calculates the stats and damages you'll get from combining certain armor, weapons, and skill points. Then there's YouTube. On YouTube and on this channel you can find many guides. Just on this channel and linked down below, there are guides for all quests, for leveling your combat level, guides for professions, discoveries, and much more. So, you're ready to start playing, and if you need assistance or help, don't look further than to the community. We're always happy to help. And that has been all for this beginner's guide to Wynncraft. I hope you have learned something new, and in case you need any additional help, links are down below, and you can also ask anything you need on the forums question section, the Discord question section, and also down in the comments below, and I will try to answer any question you might have. Hopefully this has been enough, but of course there is much to learn, and you will learn many more things as you progress through the game. I hope you guys all enjoy this guide. Make sure to leave a like and a comment down below, and subscribe if you want to. There are many other guides on this channel and also on other channels as well, also on the forums and on the wiki. So in case you ever have any question or need help with the game, the community is happy to help. Thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye!